Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, and today's video we're doing a review on Capcom Arcade Second Stadium, so let's get into it. Now this game is actually a massive collection of games and arcade classics from Capcom, and if you get the full version it comes with 32 games, and the collection features a wide variety of types of games as well. So you've got fighting games, puzzle games, action platformers, space shooters, and much more. Now since there is 32 games on the collection, I won't be going through a full review on every single game in the collection, but really more so highlighting some of my favorites within it. And since there is such a wide variety of types of games, I think if you like classic arcade games, you'll likely find some that you'll enjoy on this collection as well. So like I said, there's a couple different games that are shooter games. Some are side-scrolling where you're going constantly to the right. There's other ones that are vertical as well. So there's classics like 1943 and some unique ones from the Capcom library that I'd never seen before. With games like Eco Fighters and Hyperdyne Sidearms were games that I weren't familiar with, but were a unique addition to this collection. But one that I didn't think I'd necessarily like that really stood out to me was Gunsmoke. And so this one's pretty cool. You're in the Wild West and you're going through kind of as a vertical shooter, and you're a cowboy with guns fighting against different enemies. And what's unique about this is that different buttons on the controller control how you shoot the guns. So some will shoot 2 shots forward, others will kind of do a diagonal split shot, others will go up and to the left, others will go up and to the right. And so you really need to combine moving around the screen using those unique shooting styles to get past the waves of enemies. On top of that, there's different power-ups that you can collect, like boots that will speed you up, and even riding a horse that will allow you to take on more damage. And then you'll fight against powerful bosses as well. Another thing I like about the game is there's various different checkpoints throughout it, so you can't just constantly insert as many coins as you want and quickly get through the game. There is more of a challenge to it where you need to get past certain bosses or certain checkpoints. Even if you have unlimited continues, you don't start exactly where you died, which I thought was great. Another cool one that I found in the collection was Black Tiger. And this was kind of an action platformer that was sort of a combination of a Castlevania style game mixed with ghosts and goblins, where you have your whip ability, different items that you can power up, and as you kill enemies you'll gain gold that you can buy even more power-ups for your character, like improved weapons and strengthened armor. But as you get hit, your armor is weakened and it falls off, kind of like the classic Capcom game Ghosts and Goblins. And so it was cool playing that game. You face off against challenging enemies, you're climbing trees as you're platforming, you're getting power-ups, and facing off against bosses as well. I really enjoyed this one, and I thought it was a cool find on the collection. The game also features several beat-em-ups, and a couple of my favorites that I enjoyed were the King of Dragons and Knights of the Round. In the King of Dragons, you'll choose from various different character types, like a wizard, a warrior, an archer, cleric, different things like that. And as you play through the different levels, your character will level up and improve their weapons, gain better armor, and increase their hit points and health so you can get further throughout the game. You'll face off against waves of enemies and fight challenging bosses, and so this was one of the beat-em-ups I really enjoyed on the collection. I had never played it before and I thought it was a lot of fun. Similar to this style, again, like I'd mentioned, is Knights of the Round. And this is more of a King Arthur themed, Camelot type themed beat 'em up where you're choosing from different players like Lancelot, King Arthur, or Parzival, each kind of with their own unique play style. But again, as you go through and beat up different enemies, you'll actually gain points which will level up your character, being improved armor, improving their weapons, you'll find chests of gold around, and you'll also face off against bosses that are quite challenging, and you'll need to learn their unique patterns to be able to defeat them. You can play as multiplayer local co-op with these beat-em-ups as well, which is really cool, and those were 2 of them that really stood out to me on the collection. Another unique one from the collection is the Capcom Sports Club, and this gives you an opportunity to play a couple different sports in an arcade fun version. So there's a tennis version, a soccer version, and a basketball version. The basketball kind of reminded me of NBA Jam to some extent, and so it's pretty simplified to basketball, but it's a lot of fun. The soccer was very similar. You have a very short court, but you can pass between your players, kick to score a goal, and slide tackle and trip opponents to get the ball from the other player. And again, that was pretty fun. The tennis is pretty challenging. It's kind of cool though. Each player, depending on what country you choose for them, has unique stats to them, so that can influence your gameplay and who you choose to play as. I thought it was pretty challenging, but it was a cool aspect to the collection, getting to play these various different sports games. Another unique one is Saturday Night Slam Masters. And this is kind of a wrestling game meets fighting game. So you'll be able to choose from various different wrestlers, and they have their own unique entrances as they come in, so that's a lot of fun seeing them come in costume and the lights all flashing and people getting excited for that. And they have their own unique abilities, but again, like I said, it's kind of a wrestling game meets fighting game, so you'll slowly deplete the other player's health with different powerful wrestling moves. You can bounce off the ropes, you can jump out of the ring, pick up chairs, and much more, and you'll try and reduce your opponent's health down to nothing and then eventually pin them to win the match. And so you don't need to know anything about wrestling to have fun with this game, but I thought it was a cool addition and a unique twist on the fighting genre, combining both wrestling and a fighting game, and it was a lot of fun. Another couple of my favorite games from the collection are Mega Man The Power Battle and Mega Man 2 The Power Fighters. Now these are Mega Man games where you can play as Mega Man, Proto Man, or Bass, each having somewhat of a unique play style to them, but instead of going through the different levels like you do with Mega Man and facing off against a boss, instead this is kind of a boss rush game where you'll choose from different bosses you want to challenge and you just jump right into the boss fight. And so if you've played previous Mega Man games, I really think you'll enjoy this game, especially since you'll face off against classic bosses throughout the series. But on top of that, the bosses function a little bit different. So if you're used to specific patterns from the original games, you'll have kind of a refresh with these bosses. And since they mix up some of the different games together, you might be going against bosses from Mega Man 4 and 3 and 6, all within the same challenge. And so you'll need to figure out what weaknesses work against different bosses that maybe weren't present in the original games. And you'll also go against Wily's Castle and face off against challenging bosses there as well. Both games are a cool arcade experience. The second game is a little bit more expansive, where there's different modes and you'll play against a variety of different boss combinations. But again, I like this arcade style Mega Man boss rush game. It's one of my favorites on the collection, and I definitely recommend checking it out. Now, Capcom Arcade Collection wouldn't be complete without a ton of different fighting games, and so there's definitely several of those in the collection as well. There's several from the Street Fighter universe, such as Street Fighter Alpha 1, 2, and 3, the original Street Fighter arcade game, as well as Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition. On top of that, there's Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, which mixes a puzzle game with a fighting game. There's Super Gem Fighter, and also some from the Darkstalkers series, which is similar to the Street Fighter formula, but instead you're playing as various different horror-themed characters, so like a mummy, a vampire, zombie, and much more. And those are a lot of fun as well. As I mentioned, there's a couple different puzzle games in the collection as well. There's even a game Block Block, which is kind of like Arkanoid or Brick Break, where you've got the little paddle going around, shooting the ball and breaking bricks on the screen, and trying to eliminate all of the bricks within the puzzle. I've always found those games really addicting and fun to play in the arcade, and they've got one of those included in this collection as well. And there's several other games within the collection as well. Like I said, if you get the full package, there's 32 games in total, so that really breaks down to only $1 or $2 per game within the entire collection. So I think that's probably your best bet. I know you can buy them individually as well, but most likely if you like a lot of the games I talked about in this video, I definitely think it's worth getting the entire package. Now, a couple other things to point out about this collection is the fact that there's various different settings that you can adjust the display of the games. So you can do it in a way where you're kind of like playing an actual arcade cabinet and the view is like you're standing right next to the arcade. You can have a full screen mode or kind of a traditional mode where it'd be like you were looking at just the screen fitted for the specific game. You can also adjust the angle of the screen. So if you're playing on Switch, for example, and you wanted to play a space shooter that's going vertical, you could adjust the screen so it's going vertical, so it'd feel a little bit more like the actual arcade screen. There's also a speed feature where you can adjust how fast the games play, and there's a rewind feature as well. So if you make a mistake while playing a game, you can rewind the game to the point where you made that mistake and keep playing from there. There's also the ability to save and load games, so maybe if you're up against a tough boss, or if you want to replay an aspect of a stage multiple times to get good at it, that's just another option the collection has as well. There's online leaderboards and online rankings where you can compete against others for the top score or time attack on various different games. There's local co-op play on many of the games and a lot more additional features as well. So not only can you experience all the multiple games within the collection, there's a bunch of unique features to fit your exact play style and how you want to view the games for that true classic experience, or to have more of a modern feel when you play the game. But let me know in the comments below, have you played this collection yet? What are some of your favorites throughout it? Let me know in the comments below. Are you more a fan of the fighting games, the puzzle games, the platformers, or the shoot 'em ups? Let me know in the comments below. But if you guys like this video, be sure to smash that like button as it really helps out the channel. And if you like videos like this on video games, board games, and everything nerdy, check out one of our other videos here. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.